Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After we run you through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer Dolphins fans' questions. And if you're new to this channel, we have a great fan Q&A for you later in the episode. So if you stick around for that, it's a really, really good one. Obviously, covering this team throughout the entire season and to finally see them in action in a game-like setting is awesome. And there's so many positives we have to talk about in this episode. I can't wait to get into it. So let's get into the news you need to know about. This first news story comes from, sorry for the pause there, just a little technical difficulties. If you hear the fan in the back, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. So much stuff is going wrong right now. It's actually a miracle that this episode's even getting out. But let's get into the first news story you need to know about. This story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Hunter Long's injury not as severe as the Dolphins once thought. We don't know when he's going to come back specifically, but we know that he'll come back probably before the regular season, according to all the reports. So thank God we didn't lose him for the season. He is going to be a very good player, and I'm very excited to see. He was having a great camp. Obviously, I loved him coming out of Boston College. He was, to me, one of the better tight ends in football or in college football, and one of the better ones in the draft. And he was a steal for the Dolphins, and hopefully he can come back healthy and contribute right away. Because I'm very excited to see what he could add to the offense. Because obviously a lot of people are concerned about the running, and if you look at the tight ends right now, I mean Shaheen, he's a solid all-around tight end. You know what I mean? He's not above average. He's right at average, maybe a little bit below it. You know, Hunter Long has really, really nice potential and could help out in the running game because of his blocking ability. I mean, this is a bigger dude. He's actually bigger than Shaheen. And obviously, I think he can really be a nice blocker too. So he could help out in the run game, you know, mix up the schemes a little bit. So there's a lot Hunter Long could, not just for the pass game in Tua, but could also help in the run game as well. So it's very, very good news that he's coming back. And he's not going to miss the rest of the year. Let's get into the next news story. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors, and it has to do with injuries as well. You know what? Should we start with the trade rumors? Let's start with the trade rumors. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins are looking good Lord, excuse me. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins looking to trade for an offensive tackle. With around a month to go until the start of the season, it appears the Dolphins aren't quite happy with their offensive line. Miami is, quote, searching for some offensive line depth and willing to make a trade for an offensive tackle, according to Mike Lombardi of The Athletic. I think the key thing there is depth. Now, whether they're looking for a starter, that remains to be seen. Obviously, this team has a load of receivers. A lot of people are speculating maybe they use Devontae Parker as trade bait to get one of these tackles. The hard truth is they're not going to get a good tackle unless it's a veteran player who is either cut in training camp or a team wants to move on from. And even those guys are pretty much locked up. I mean, there's no above-average tackle in the NFL right now. In terms of if you're looking for a starter, you're not going to get one if you're a Dolphins fan. That's not going to happen. Even, like I said, even the older ones. I mean, Jason Peters just got signed, and he's in his 40s, his early 40s, or very late 30s. I mean, Whitworth is locked up with the Rams still. He's playing his last season, and he's in his 40s. So even the older players are really high-valued players, even though they are in their late 30s or mid-30s, because that position is so hard to find, and for some reason that position ages really well. Especially in today's day and age, which is really interesting. I mean, even back in the day, I mean, people like Bruce Matthews played forever. I don't know what it is about offensive linemen, or at least great offensive linemen, that they can last as long as they do, but it's just hard to find a tackle, even if he is a vet. So, at the very least, I could see the Dolphins maybe giving up a draft pick for one of these later older tackles for depth, maybe. I am not too concerned with this starting unit. I know they at times didn't look too great, and we'll get into the preseason game here in a second. In that game, they were going against a very good front. Khalil Mack and Hakeem Hicks played in that game. and I thought that they did open up holes, but I thought the running back play was very poor, very very poor, and it makes me wonder why Ahmed isn't the number one running back right now, at least the second one. I don't think Malcolm Brown. After watching that game, I saw enough of Malcolm Brown. He was missing wide open holes, like legit. I'm talking, could have run a truck through him. He was missing holes. There were holes that to be found there, and it just seemed like he was blind. So I think the offensive line stuff is a little bit overblown. They did a nice job in pass protection. You know, they have Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack. Those two are very, and even Robert Quinn, who's an above average pass rusher. You know, it's not that bad. You know, I thought they did pretty good. You know, Tua didn't get touched. So, I mean, the most he got touched was he threw a ball out of bounds, and that was it. And I felt like the pass protection was pretty good. But I think the biggest question going into this season, and it has been for the last 2 years, is the run game, and can it get better? And from what I saw, again, against a good front, and not even just the defensive linemen, but the very good linebackers and safeties like Eddie Jackson, who I do think played in. I would have to go back and look, but I think Eddie did play. They did a good job. I just thought that there was a lot of I could think of 3 missed opportunities in that first half because of the running backs. Ahmed looked way better than even Gaskin and Brown, to be honest with you. But Brown looked by far the worst out there. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I wouldn't get your hopes up, because I just don't think that's it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. If they wanted to do that, they should have done that before the draft, or even a little bit after the draft. You know, when Orlando Brown was up, there was a couple other players up. I mean, they could have gotten Trent Williams 2 years ago, and they passed on that. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing really they're going to be able to do about it. You know, they got DJ Fluker for a veteran presence to be that guy. Like I said, I want to say this one more time. I don't think you're going to have to really worry about the starting unit too much. Depth, sure, you can have some concerns there. Liam Eichenberg, who's already injured. And again, this is something new for him. He's never really been injured before in his career. So, well, you know, obviously the Dolphins are going to continue to monitor that situation. So I wouldn't panic too much. I think it's a little bit overblown, especially with the starting unit. Yes, there are depth issues, questions. Even that, I question a little bit. I know some of the guys that came in later in the game didn't look outstanding, but, you know, I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's early. I do like some of the players that are backing some of these players up. I mean, Kinley is another guy that could play tackle or guard, and they've kind of cross-trained this offseason, so we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I think it is being a little bit overblown right now. So if the Dolphins decide to, and again, there has been speculation that Devontae Parker might be in some sort of deal. If Devontae Parker is in a deal, it better not be for a backup tackle. I can tell you that right now. It better be for a high-end player, at least a starter in this league, not a depth player. If you want to get rid of Albert, even then, I think I wouldn't do it. That to me is just a little bit too much. Let's move on to this next news story. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins wide receiver Allen Hurns out 3 months. Sucks. Again, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. Allen Hurns' chances of making the Dolphins roster took a hit today. The veteran wideout suffered a wrist injury that will require surgery. The injury is expected to sideline Hurns for at least 3 months. You know, it's not that big of a hit. It would have been nice to see him compete for the job. You know, he's been a very good player in the past. He's a great possession receiver. A very weird, almost like a Jarvis Landry-like body type for that type of playing style. But he's not as physical, but he's, kind of a possession. Good 50-50 ball guy, too, if you hit him down the sideline. Very good route runner. For the most of his career, at least not with, when he got to the Dolphins, his hands seemed to be a little off, but for most of his career, he had really good hands. I mean, this is a former top 100 player. This is a former Pro Bowler who has just had a very, very bad luck with injuries, with the broken leg, now the broken wrist. He opted out in 2020. So he's had a lot of issues, but he is a good player, and it does suck to see him get hurt. Because it would have been nice to see, and obviously I think he did play at the University of Miami as well. So it would have been nice to see him play out there in a Dolphins uniform for all of those reasons, but he's one of those guys. He's like Denzel Perryman. It's unfortunate, but for some reason, they just continue to get bad luck. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. But I don't know. Maybe the Dolphins keep him around. I know that they liked what they saw from him in camp, but I doubt they will. I mean, you think about people like Lynn Bowden, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, Devontae Parker, Albert Wilson, Jakeem Grant. There's a lot of receivers on this roster, so he might have to be one of them odd men out. Okay, so right before we get into the fan Q&A, let's get into the game. That's all the news you need to know about. There's not much more news you need to know about. Obviously, the Hunter Long injury we talked about. We talked about Hearns. We talked about the offensive line thing, the rumor there. Really, that's it. I mean, there's been some Deshaun Watson stuff, but for the most part, it seems that has been died down because of Tua's camp that he's had so far. So, if you were wondering about that, it looks like the Dolphins are locked, stock, and barrel on Tua and ready to go on that. So let's move on to the game. And we're not going to go into stats like we usually do. I'm just going to give you an overall thought. It's just really focusing on the first half. One of the things that I saw and I noticed that not a lot of people are talking about is Igbenogany, and I want to talk about him first. He looked way better than he did last year. He moved way better than he did. He looked like a DB out there. He actually looked like a corner. He didn't look stiff. He looked really, really good. He's been working with the X in the offseason a lot, and I think a lot of that has shown up. And he gets another year under his belt. He has the year under his belt where he was a man-press corner, and I feel like he's really developing into what we thought he can be. He just looked a lot better. I'm not saying he had his moments of bad, but not even really moments. I think he had one bad play the entire game, but for the most part, I thought he looked way better than he did a year ago. He was physical. He wasn't afraid. He was getting his head around. He had good ball skills in this game. I just thought he looked really good. Comparing to what he looked like last year, to me it was night and day. So I don't know why. Maybe people are, and I'm just not noticing it, but I thought Igbenogany looked way better than he did a year ago. One of the biggest concerns that I noticed of this game is the running backs, and the depth of the running backs is terrible. It looks like it's going to be another Ahmed Gaskin year from what we saw in this game. I mean, Malcolm Brown, and I told you guys when we signed him, I never liked him. I've never liked his game. He is worse than I thought. Like, this is worse than Jordan Howard, dude. This is really bad. Like, he played terrible in this game. He deserved, like, that game alone, he might not even make the team. Like, I would rather have Scarlett on the team than him. Like, at least he's a younger player that we can develop. If the Dolphins should be talking about trading for anything, it should be for a running back. I mean, he was missing pretty easily reads as a running back. And this offensive line can't do everything for him. He's going to have to make his plays. And, it makes me kind of upset looking back on the offseason. Even though I feel like I do still believe Le'Veon Bell is still available, they need to do something about this, dude. This is really, really bad. It's very concerning. He looked terrible. His lateral movement, his quickness, even his power wasn't good in this game. And I know that's a lot of... Anytime you get a body type like that for a running back and they're not a power back, they're more of a balance back, I'm not in. I'm always out on that. He's like a worse version of Mike Davis. And Mike Davis is not a good player. Even though a lot of people think he is not a good player. Watch him play. He's not good. And neither is Malcolm Brown. I hate those style of running backs. I just don't think they're very good. They don't do anything above average. He looks like a 40-year-old dude trying to run the football at a cookout. It looks really bad right now. Like, it looks really bad. So, they need to figure it out. I mean, at the very least, the man should have some half-decent vision, but he didn't even have that. They need to figure it out. I don't know what they're going to do, whether it's trading for someone or signing someone. They need another running back in that room from what we've seen so far. Because, like I said, right now, it's Ahmed. It blows my mind that Ahmed wasn't the guy to start the game. It's actually disrespectful. Like, he came in and it was night and day. He ran the same play Malcolm Brown did, except he hit the hole the right way. Malcolm Brown didn't even gain a yard on the same play Ahmed did, and it was the same... Honestly, Brown got better blocking on his. If Ahmed was in earlier in the game with Tua, they probably score a touchdown. The drives would have been way more consistent, way better, and the offensive line would have looked better. So he needs to start. I don't know what the heck's going on with his depth chart, but that needs to be fixed. Again, I'm sorry for the fan. I apologize. I know it's loud. It's probably annoying. It is what it is, man. I can't do anything about it. But another thing that I noticed in this game that I feel like not a lot of people have talked about, maybe they have, is Waddle. And I know he didn't have a reception in this game. He had a nice punt return. But he looked really nice. He was open. Tua, it's not like Tua missed him, or Tua, he was missing wide open people. He wasn't. He made the right read pretty much every single time. But it just happened to be that there were other people open when Waddle was open. But I loved the way he was running routes out there. If you look at like the coach's film, the Bears defensive backs could not keep up with him. He was open too early. I can think of 3 times that he was open. He looked really nice out there. He looks like he's going to be a very, very, very nice player for them. Obviously, he looked really smooth on the punt. And I know a lot of people were concerned with the leg and, obviously that injury. He looks just fine. Like, I'm very, very happy with what I saw from him. And I'm glad that they're playing him in the slot because I do think he is going to be a very, very tough player to guard at that position. And if they're going more towards the New England passing offense like we've heard, him in that Edelman, Welker type of position is unstoppable, especially from the stuff that I saw from him. People forget about Waddle. He's a great route runner. Like, he's a very, very, very good route runner. And he has the speed. He's got great hands for his size. So he's an all-around really nice receiver, and he showed that in this game despite not having a reception. I just loved the way he was moving out there. I liked the way he looked. Very excited about him. And I thought he looked, and I know a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people were concerned about the leg thing. He looked just fine to me. He looked amazing. One of the other things I noticed before we obviously get to the elephant in the room, which is Tua, is Brian definitely had, he was like, we're running the football in this game. We ran a lot of the same plays. Obviously, it's preseason, so you're not going to get game plan type stuff that we would run in the regular season. But you could tell that, he wanted the team to, all right, we got to get better at this. And I thought that was pretty evident in this game. A lot of heavy sets, a lot of jumbo sets, a lot of, let's try to get physical and run the football. Some nice play action. We're going to get to Tua in a second. I can't wait to talk about him. But I noticed that. You could tell that Brian is putting an emphasis on the run game. And you could tell in this game, the preseason game, he wants the line to be a little bit more physical. Some of the other stuff that I noticed, that was pretty much it. I mean, I thought I think a sneaky story of this offseason is Mac Hollins looks pretty good. He looks like a nice receiver. He's a big body guy. I think the thing that he needs to work on the most is obviously he needs to definitely evolve his route tree and grow that, and it looks like he's doing that. And his hands need to be better. And I thought that, that third down laser beam that Tua had to him in this game was a good, showing of, okay, and he's been balling out in camp, by the way. And to see it in a game, and that was a really tough catch. And for him to catch that, I was like, okay, Mac's getting better. Him and Tua have actually had sneaky good chemistry. He had the touchdown him in Arizona. They've had good practices together with all these receivers being hurt. So I think that's a sneaky storyline. Is not only can he make it on special teams, but he's also kind of developing into a nice player as a receiver as well. Some other things that I noticed, Jakeem Grant, still a great special teams player, but not so much a receiver. I think that was another, I don't even think he had a reception in this game. I could be wrong. And it's why is he the way he is? I don't know. I don't know how many snaps he took, but for a number of how many snaps he took, but I don't know. It's the same thing every year with Jakeem. He's never going to grow into the receiver that we hoped he would be. But he's still a very valuable special teams player, and he showed that in this game. The defense, we'll talk about the defense, then we'll get into it. That's another thing that I noticed. We allowed 1 first down the entire half. So defensively, we look amazing, and this was without X. And like I said, Igbenogany looks a lot better. But the versatility of players that they can rotate in and out of the lineup is phenomenal. They really can shut you down. Easy. And I think that what you saw was just a sample of it with, McKinney and Baker, what they're going to do this year. This defense is going to be insane, dude. People are underrating this defense. This defense is going to be special. And I'm so happy, and that's one of the things that I was, upset about if they did get rid of X. It's like, man, we could have had a very, 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 not just great, but special defense. It has the potential to go down as one of those great Dolphins defenses for sure. And it showed that in this game. I mean, they were dominant. Even when Fields was in, and I know people want to get, are happy about Fields, he's a rookie, but when Fields was in, he couldn't do anything. I think his accuracy really showed when he was playing some of our higher-end players. You could tell, there was a big drop-off from that first to second half in quality of play. But, the defense looked phenomenal. And the fact that Igbenogany is getting better, which, by the way, I never saw coming. I was like, dude, everything that we're hearing from in camp is he's looked terrible. But maybe him playing these receivers in camp that were very talented has helped him a lot. And him training with X in the offseason, all of those things are good things. And I thought he just looked faster. He looked like a corner. And that was nice to see as well. And again, another thing I want to talk about is something that I thought was another thing that was overblown and did not show up in this game when the starters were out there, is Omar Kelly kept bringing up how the safeties are a little bit of a concern, and all of that, which kind of contradicts other things that we've heard, like how Holland is played, and we know that Holland moves around the defense. But watching this game, I'm like, he's out of his mind, dude. Our safeties are awesome. They can play man coverage, one-on-one. They can drop back in a deep zone. They can play center field. They've got great hands, great vision. This is the best safety group I've seen in a very long time. Very, very long time. And they fit the scheme, which is the most important thing. So I thought that was a good sign. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You want to talk about some of the other guys like Duke Riley, who, I thought, he didn't have a great game, but who cares about Duke Riley? Some of the stuff with the front seven, I just want to run down some other small things before we get into Tua. Just some small things. I thought obviously the pass rush depth is a little concerning because they didn't get anything going for the most part. I thought John Jenkins looked phenomenal though. I thought he looked really, really good. So I like what I saw from him. Some other little things. Special teams is still great. It's going to be great this year with the return depth that we have with our kickers and punters. I thought Pilardi looked good. So yeah, those are some of the small things that I noticed. This team is really good. I really liked what I saw. Obviously Gesicki looked really nice out there as well. But yeah, that was all the little things that I noticed. And again, it's a good thing that John Jenkins looked the way he did out there, because they need that. They need that on this team, and that's just another weapon on defense that they can use. Okay, so let's get into Tua. I wanted to save him for last. I thought he looked great. I thought, dude, it made me so happy to see him like that, because being a Dolphins fan for as long as I have been, and just seeing all of these bad quarterbacks, it gets old. It sucks. If you've been a Dolphins fan for 10 plus years, it's been bad. The quarterbacks have been really, really bad, and the best that we've gotten from the quarterbacks have been a little bit above average to mediocre. And for what I saw today was very, very uplifting. It's nice to see him look like what he looked like in college. His pocket presence is amazing. His quick release, his accuracy, his ability to get through his reads, I thought was really nice. People talk about the interception, but honestly, he just got stuck between two plays. He was like, well, I could run this in for a touchdown. And then he was like, all right, I'll just throw it, and it was just too late. I think he just got caught in between those things, but he was on fire, dude. And a lot of his big plays were on 3rd and long against a good defense. A very good defense, by the way. And he just was firing them out there. The throw to Hollins was amazing. That was a laser. And then obviously Shaheen had that drop. That was a laser. The Gesicki where he barely got the first down, that was a laser. That was perfect ball placement. The little looky slant that he threw on the goal line that was like down to the 2. That reminded me. I was like, dude, that looked like Steve Young. And I know people are gonna freak out, but that was just a very beautiful. It was a beautiful slant and a beautiful throw, right on the money. He just looked in control. He looked completely different. He obviously looks bigger than he did a year ago. He looked small last year. This year he looks way bigger. He looks like he did in college. His presence, his pocket presence, and his accuracy are his biggest strengths, and that's what I loved about him coming out of college. And I thought those really showed in this game. I just love Tua. From everything that I saw from camp and this preseason game, I'm just so excited for the season, man. This is the best team we've had in a long time. And I don't want to sound overly positive and, I was negative on the Tua thing. I was like, we need to be cautious with the Deshaun Watson stuff. I've completely thrown that out of the window just from what I've seen from him so far this year. And it takes me off that people, he's overshadowed a lot of the time, and people I feel like are underselling it, how much better he's gotten this year. I just feel like it's a huge leap, and I'm very, very happy with that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's it. That's all I really noticed in this game. Yeah, I thought Tua looked really, really good. Really good. He just didn't look. It looked like the game wasn't too big for him. And again, against a good defense, by the way. God, he looked good. He looked really nice. Let's get into the fan Q&A. Where we answer fans' questions. Let's go. This first question comes from Brandon. He says, with X finally signed, he says, let's restart. This first question comes from Brandon. He says, with X finally signed, our secondary is honestly top 5. I believe that. He says, what do you think we can do for our front 7 to resemble the old Cam Wake days? First of all, no disrespect to Cam Wake and those front 7s. Those weren't great front 7s. They were terrible against the run. They were okay in the pass, and I know people were going to freak out about that, but it's true. And I want to be honest with you. Cam Wake was a very good player, but those front 7s and those defenses were not that great. So I want them to be better than that, for sure. I think they are better than that. I think their ability to be versatile and not just be one thing is why they're better. I think this is a good run defense this year, and I think this is a good pass defense this year. So that's why I like this front 7. They're more versatile. They're not just one thing. So I do think they can be better than those. I mean, the best Cam Wake front maybe was 2012, not even 2011, like 2012, maybe some of the, I don't even know, man. Those are some bad defenses for the most part. So, yeah, hopefully they're better than that. But moving on to the next question. This question comes from Brandon again. He says, how do you feel about starting Devin McCourty, Javon Holland, and putting Brandon Jones in the box to give us more speed on the defensive side of the football? I love that. That's how Brandon was used last year, and he was great at it. So I like that a lot. I think I like that. And again, they're so interchangeable and versatile that Brian can do some very creative things. And I don't know why this weird attachment to Bobby McCain happened with Dolphins fans, but Bobby McCain was not that good. We have to wake up. Everybody got to wake up on that one. Bobby McCain was never that good. He was average. At Bobby McCain's peak, he was average. He was a little bit of an above average nickel back. I'll give him that. But he was never an above average safety at all, ever. He never should have played safety. He should have always been a nickel back. So I think that room has been improved a lot with the names that you just mentioned. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, was it just me or did Tua's pocket awareness look good on the few plays we did see? Yes, he looked. And again, that's the best thing about his game is his instincts. And, even Jalen Waddle said it. Comparing him to Mac Jones coming out of the draft. He says Tua's instincts are better. And they are. His ability to just play the game. That's his best. He was born to play quarterback. I mean, he really, really was. This next question comes from Ahmed. He says, I watched Hard Knock. Oh, Lord, Ahmed, with these long questions. And listen, you always have these long questions. They're never short. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. He says, I watched Hard Knocks episode 1 and Micah Parsons looked like the real deal. Surprised Flores did covet him like he did Raekwon. or Javon Holland, do you think that Flores' defense prioritizes elite D-line and secondary over linebackers? I think he prioritizes elite secondary over everything else, and I think he actually prioritizes linebackers more than he does defensive. People forget that Phillips is playing linebacker. He's going to be used as a pass rusher, obviously, but those are the kind of linebackers that this team is. It's so versatile. There's going to be 3-4, 4-3. You need that. So I honestly think linebackers are more valuable than even defensive linemen are. It's easier to find like a Damian Harrison type of a player that really is just a run stuffer, like a John Jenkins. It's easier to find those guys. It's harder to find those great edge players, and he definitely prioritizes that over defensive linemen in general. So, to answer your question, Ahmed, your first question, I think he prioritizes secondary over everything, and then I would say linebackers is second, and then D-line is third. He goes on to say, what about, and again, I think Waddle looks really good, just to put that in there. I mean, Micah Parsons is a very good player, but Jalen Waddle is a very good player, too. I thought he looked really nice in this game. He said this next question, or the second question from Ahmed. He says, "What about all the summer talk of Waddle and Fuller stretching the field, and the opponent's defense respect for that opening up running lanes for Gaskin? Doesn't look like Tua will be throwing bombs down the field to the speedsters. If yesterday was any indication, looks like he'll stick with the dump off and intermediate passes over the middle of the field to the tight ends. Well, he did have a bomb to Mike Gesicki. Will Fuller did not play in this game. I think Albert Wilson barely played in this game, if he played at all. I don't know. But those guys didn't play. So, not only that, but this is not what we're going to run in the regular season. So, do not take preseason as any indication of what the heck this team's going to do in the regular season. So, you should just look at individuals and have they gotten better at playing the game. That's it. And there was a lot of those guys out there this year, but I think it is a little presumptuous to state some of those things, because I think it's a wait and see thing. But I mean, you can't say. I mean, Will Fuller and Waddle wasn't even used like that in this game. He never went deep at all, really. He was pretty much into like slot stuff. They were definitely put an emphasis on running the football and trying to get that right. They weren't really worried about They were trying to get their players better more than anything, is the best thing I can say. But if you've watched practice and Twitter and everything that everybody's been reporting of this team and covering this team, that's been the number one emphasis, is the deep ball. And you can see that in training camp practices. And you can see that with what Brian Flores has said and people around the team have said. And what Tua has been doing in practice is just stretching the field. They're really emphasizing that, and I'm glad that they worked on that with him. And that's what they've been doing. So I disagree with that. He goes on to say, I feel Greer has also dropped the ball on Stevenson, the 4th-round running back for the Pats. The guy looks like a battering ram. A lot of blogs were hyping him up after Miami missed out on Javonte Williams. Stevenson might haunt this Fins team for some time to come. No, I don't think so. They still have Sonny Michel and Harrison or Dwayne. God, I can't remember his name. The guy from Alabama. I can't remember his name right now. But those guys are going to get most of the run. Stevenson, yeah, he had a nice run in preseason. That doesn't really matter. The run game is good. It's already good. Those guys are good players that I just mentioned. I don't think Stevenson's even better than any of those guys, but I'm not too worried about him. But you're right, though. I will say this, Ahmed. You're right about the running back thing. They should have invested more in that, and because Malcolm Brown is not the answer. So hopefully maybe Le'Veon Bell comes. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is not going to be worse than what we saw on was it Saturday? It's not going to be worse than that. That's as bad as it gets. This next question, but so you do have a point, Ahmed. I do want to point that out. You do have a very good point about maybe we should have gotten Stevenson because of that. So I guess you're kind of right. This next question comes from Julian. He says, also our secondary in the first half looked beast. Thoughts? It looks phenomenal. The defense looked great. So yeah, I agree with you, Julian. This next question comes from Salt. He says, yes, I know it was the first preseason game, but if Malcolm Brown, I'm glad someone brought it up, is our starting running back, shaking my head. Is Gaskin hurt? What do you think our next move should be to get a great running back? I think we should get the 7th round Larnell Coleman the nod at right tackle. Just my opinion. What do you think? I don't know about the Coleman thing, but the Malcolm Brown thing is pretty bad, dude. Like, that was dark stuff. Like, it was pretty bad. I completely agree with the running back thing. I'm glad someone else noticed it. Like, he made the offensive line look worse than it actually was. So, you can blame him for that. But anyway, this next question comes from Jack Pack 18. He says, is Christian Wilkins a bust? I know he's a team guy with great energy. Again, this question comes from Jack Pack. But he simply does not make enough impact plays for a first-round pick. I mean, I don't know about that. I think he does all the things that don't show up on the stat sheet very well. This was a preseason game. He looked pretty decent out there. I don't know. I think I like Christian Wilkins. I expect him to have a pretty big year this year. I would just hold out, just wait a little bit longer. This question comes from Julian. He says, how do you think the Dolphins can work on finishing drives and playing a full 60 minutes? In this game in particular, I really wish they didn't run a lot of the same runs that they were running. It was easy for those guys to shoot the gaps. I mean, we're talking about a good defense. I'm talking about the starters. You can't run the same play that many times in a row on a good defense. It's not going to work. And they did that, and I think they did that on purpose because obviously this is preseason. They want this team to kind of grow into that physical run that they're looking for, and that's what Brian wants. And that kind of didn't help things in this particular game, but it will help things down the line. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to build to the regular season. And I thought you could kind of see that in this game. So, definitely can run the ball better to finish some of these drives. And that's pretty much it. The execution on some of these runs was poor, but at the same time, like I said, run the same play. I mean, the goal line stuff, the stand that the team had, the Bears had against the Dolphins, they ran the same play 2 times in a row on the goal line. And I know it's the goal line, but I don't know. Just run something different. Run more of a power. They pulled the guard, they shot the gap. They pulled the guard, they shot the gap. I mean, run something different. So, I think that was a factor as well. But, they definitely have to run the ball. And there were, like I said, there were plays to be had in the run game. They were just missed. So I think it's a little bit overblown. This next question comes from Brandon. But to answer your question, Julian, yes, they do have to run the football and to be a full 60-minute team. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, be honest, because you're normally very optimistic. Okay. He says, what didn't you like about Tua in his first There was nothing I didn't like about him. Be honest, because you're normally very optimistic. What do you like about Tua? I mean, I'm not very I feel, again, I don't know. Maybe I am a little bit too optimistic. I feel like I've been kind of fair, though, especially in the offseason. To answer your question, Brandon, I'm trying to think of some stuff I thought bad. There was nothing I thought bad about him. I mean, if I watched the All-22, maybe I don't know. I feel like he did very good. Made some tough throws in this game. And it was a short amount of time, so I thought he looked very nice. I don't know what you made. I mean, the pick, you guys got to understand something. That was not a bad interception. I know it looks like it was, but it really was just an honest mistake. It's not a mistake that, especially from Tua, who didn't turn the ball over at all last year. That's not a problem he's going to have. He got caught in between 2 plays, and I know some people have compared it to the pick he had against the Patriots on the goal line. Completely 2 different things. To me, the Patriots one was worse. This one, I just thought he was caught in between 2 things. And it's something that, Tua, you're not going to have to worry about with him. To me, it wasn't a terrible, like, oh my god, this is Brock Osweiler or Chad Henne. It wasn't that. It was just an honest mistake. This next question comes from Douglas. He says, I think we need to sign Gesicki to a new deal now before he hits free agency. Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. This next question comes from Kid. He says, what are we paying $6 million for Eric Flowers to play for Washington when our O-line is this green and the depth is thin? Thanks, Skaggs. Well, I'm surprised someone is here. To be fair, because your complaints aren't terrible. They could have done a better job of maybe getting more veteran players on that offensive line. I will completely agree with that. To maybe get it better faster for Tua. I can definitely. They had a lot of opportunities to do that. I mean, Orlando Brown is a great example of that. Joe Thuney, they could have been way more aggressive with in the offseason. They weren't. And even, like I said, Trent Williams, like that could have been a thing that happened and it didn't. So they could have done a better job of acquiring veteran players at those positions. Lindsley in the offseason from the Packers, they could have definitely outbid the Chargers for his services, that's for sure. So they could have done a lot in the offseason. Who's another one? Mark Andrews is another example where they could have maybe overpaid for him. Those are a lot of names that they've missed out on. Those are all great offensive linemen that they just weren't willing to overpay. And sometimes you have to do that and not sometimes, you have to do that in free agency in the offseason. And I will agree with that. I think they definitely could have, they should have at least gotten one of those guys. And gotten a little bit older on the offensive line than they were willing to. So I agree with that kid. And they're slipping. Things are slipping. This next question comes from KC Fanatic. He says, "Why is Waddle returning punts? We are already depleted at receiver. Why risk it? Is Grant going to be traded or released?" Maybe that's what they were thinking. And they're like, let's just put Waddle back there. Sorry, I'm sipping the coffee again. Maybe that. I don't know. I agree with that though. I don't think they should do that. I think that's very stupid. This question goes from Brandon. He says, "I'm not sure what happened with Chen Gailey, but from what I understand, he held it to a back. If I'm mistaken, correct me. What is the difference between this new coordinator, and if Tua doesn't excel this year, do you think we move on from him?" Yes, I do. I do think that. But to answer your first question about what is the difference, the biggest difference is Chen Gailey was stuck in 2007 and 2008. Okay. He was very repetitive with his stuff a lot of the time. The reason Fitz was able to run it better is because he just knew it. Chen Gailey, for the most part, I know some of the stats are kind of good, but for the most part, his career hasn't been all that great. He wasn't a great head coach. You know, his successes as an offensive coordinator have been not consistent. Let's just put it that way. So I think when you look at Chan's career and the way he runs offenses, it's vanilla. It's not new age. It's not, anything in the last 10 years anybody else is doing. It's not innovative. The guys that they've brought in are younger. They're running new age offenses, and I think that's the biggest difference. So yeah, that's it. To answer your question, Brandon. This next question comes from Beef. He says, "Hey Skaggs, I know this is a Dolphins channel, but I gotta ask, what do you think of the rumors of the Buffalo Bills relocating to Austin, Texas? That would be hilarious, and it would be amazing." This next question comes from, I hate Bills fans, and I hate the Bills. This next question comes from Brandon. He says, "Hey Skaggs, haven't asked the question in months, but I still tune in because I love the show. I really appreciate that. Thank you." Anyways, first question. Do you go to the opening training camps the Dolphins have? Cannot confirm or deny. This next question comes from KC Fanatic. He says, "Heard the Dolphins are looking for a tackle. Any ideas who?" Honestly, like I said, I can't think of one. Dwayne Brown on Seattle wants some money. Maybe they do that. That's the only one I can think of because the Seahawks, I guess, aren't willing to pay him right now. Even though Russell Wilson would be very upset if they let him go. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe they can work something out with Seattle. This next question. But again, that would be I would look at Chris in the face and I'd be like, "Why? Like, you passed on... Why you passed on all these other people?" It's like you could have had your veteran offensive lineman. I don't know. It's just weird. Same thing with the running backs, man. I know that they don't... It's like, we stay away from the running back. Even though they would have got Najee Harris if the Steelers thing didn't happen. And if Phillips didn't fall to us, I think Najee Harris was probably the pick. But anything is better than what we have right now, man. At least Ahmed looks really good. I don't know, man. Malcolm Brown looks terrible. This question comes from Last World Productions. He says, "What's up, Skags, my man? Hope all is well on your end. Quick question: what can the Dolphins do to improve the O-line? They've tried the draft route, gambled on a few vets, but in my opinion, it's time for them to go to get proven talent and actually spend some money. That's what I'm saying. But they could have done that and they didn't. What I've seen, especially when it comes to run blocking, is it going to cut it? Your thoughts?" I thought, again, the run blocking thing wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. I know people are probably going to give me crap for that, and I don't care because I'm just telling you what I saw. The running backs were really bad. Okay, those guys were terrible. Like I said, they would have looked better if Malcolm Brown wasn't the starting running back, and I stand by that. But I do agree with the whole veteran thing. They definitely could have done a better job of that. I listed an entire starting offensive line that they wanted that just didn't get it because they weren't willing to pay some of those prices. But it is what it is. We got to move on. The thing that I'm really concerned about is the running back position because it didn't look very good, and they need to figure that out. The next question comes from Mark. He says, "How did Tua look and the offense look to you?" I thought, well, the offense was pretty, it was like, this is preseason. It wasn't crazy. I liked how they used the tight ends, though. I like that. But I thought Tua looked really, really good. This next question from the Jackpack. He says, "Is Malcolm Brown the new Jordan Howard? Same numbers, same terrible running." Yes. You're worse than Jordan Howard, actually. So, it's actually worse. Like, I never saw Jordan Howard do what Malcolm Brown did. I was like what he legit just put his head down and rammed his head into the back of our guard when he had a 10-yard hole to the right. Like, what is he doing? What is he doing? He's a veteran running back. Dude, Sean McVay, if any time they let go of a running back, don't sign them. Those guys need 50 running backs. Do not sign. Like, it's not like that dude had a market. He didn't have a market. It was just, that's the worst move this organization has made so far. He was never, like, I have always been against this, and I still am. I just do not know what they saw in him. I remember Brian bringing up something, we liked the way he played in the Rams game against us. Why? Why did you like it? He caught a couple flat routes. Congratulations, Malcolm Brown. The play where Tua looked, he had the nice little pocket, he had the nice nifty moves, little Matthew Stafford sidearm action to him in the middle of the field on a dump off, and this dude had all he had to do was make one guy miss, and that was like a 25-yard gain. And easily could have made him miss. If Achman was there, that's Gaskin, any of those guys make that guy miss. You have to make that guy miss if you're in the NFL. He didn't even, I don't even know, like, at the very least, use your strength and get your pad level down and run through the dude, okay? He broke his own ankles. Like, I'm not even really sure what the heck happened there. It was really bad. I don't know. I don't like him, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to see him play for us anymore. Please don't. Please stop. Please open your eyes. When Omar Kelly tweeted that the depth chart was all jacked up because Achman should be the starting running back, he's been wrong about a lot of things in terms, like, at least I've disagreed with him on a lot of things. I won't say he's wrong, but he's right about, like, how in the world, if I'm Achman, I'm over here looking like, why? Like, why am I not starting? Why am I not starting? This game should at least demote Malcolm Brown to the fourth-string running back. Anyway, guys, that's it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to sound negative. Yeah. That's what I thought about the preseason game. We ran you through the news. We answered fans' questions. I hope we can fix this running back thing because, oh my god. But, yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys thought. I'm sorry about the fan noise, and I'll see you guys in the next one.